I know what you're thinking. Man, it's 2024 and there's another guy doing another podcast. What's new? Nothing. Nothing's new. I want to do a podcast. So what? Deal with it. Talk to your mama about it. Fun fact, this is my third one. My third podcast. Why three? It's three dramatic number. And the first two were kind of cringe, to be honest. So what am I going to talk about? It's going to be another podcast where we read Reddit stories and talk about it because we have nothing else to talk about. It's going to be another thing where we mispronounce things and don't know how to pronounce it and we correct other person to pronounce it the right way. I don't know, man. I just like telling stories and I like hearing people's stories, whether it be the time that I was involved in a police chase or the time that I fell in the side of a mountain and got this gnarly scar and got a tattoo in remembrance of it. Would it be the time that I met Corbin Blue? Would it be the time that I'm doing this right now next to the lake? This beautiful, beautiful scene, and I'm sweating. It is hot. It is hotter than a month. I don't know, man. You know, our time on this earth is way too short, so we just gotta do what we gotta do and have fun with it. You know, so I'm just doing it because I want to and put my name out there and do a bunch of things and tell people about traveling because I love traveling. I started solo traveling 2 years ago, and I want people to do it too because if you're stuck in the same state, you're stuck in the same bubble, you're not gonna do as much. You know, you gotta go out, explore, live life, experience life, learn different cultures and whatnot. And it's super fun and it's super affordable. A little plug-in. Use my code UA Rogelio100 at EF Ultimate Break to get $100 off on your next trip, whether you want to go to Tokyo, whether you want to go to Thailand, want to go to Costa Rica, whether you want to go to Croatia, Canada. I don't care where you go, just go somewhere. Dude, I should have brought a rag. This is my introduction of getting to know who I am. First of all, my name's Rogelio. You can call me Ro, but Rogelio will do just fine. What do I like to do? I like cars. I like going to car shows. I like working on cars. And anybody who works on cars knows that nobody likes to work on their own cars. I like to not be as hot. Dude, I'm telling you, I am sweating, and this shirt does no justice. This shirt is thick, like me. I like to try new foods like everybody else does. I like long walks on the beach. Not really, dude. I really don't. I really do, actually. Look, man, it's going to be just another ordinary, probably be a boring-ass podcast for you. But it might be fun for me. Every episode, or I'm going to attempt to do every episode with a friend of mine, with somebody that y'all may know, with maybe, fingers crossed, I do a celebrity one day. Yeah, it's just another podcast on your feed, on your Spotify playlist, on your YouTube, you know, the recommended watch. Hopefully I'm on your recommended watch. Another podcast is going to be popped up on TikTok like every other podcaster does on TikTok. I'm just going to be one of those. I'm going to be the basic guy that starts another podcast this year because why not? Because we can, because I want to, and honestly, I got nothing else to do and I want to add something to my to-do list to do. Feel me? I like to fly drones. Drones are pretty cool. I actually brought my drone right here, okay? And if the people that are, you know, out there be like, oh, well, you need this and this and this, I got it. You know what I'm saying? I'm working on my license. I'm studying for my license. Fun fact, I failed it the first time. But I do have this Mini 4 Pro registered to me, right? I might zoom in on this, but there you go. FAA right there. And I'm in a public spot. I'm at the zoo, actually. This zoo is pretty cool. This is the Lufkin Zoo, created in I'm not going to tell you when it was created because I don't know when it was created. But I'm at the Lufkin Zoo. There is a fantastic pond in front of me, and where I'm sitting at right now is where they launch missiles, not really, fireworks. On the 4th of July, they have a fireworks show, and they launch it from this spot right here, and they shoot it right over the water, and everybody in town comes over here, views it, watches it, and here's some footage of it. Okay, good. So yeah, this is a real nice spot, and behind me back there, there's a walking trail. So I think it's a 1.6, 1.7 miles of a walking trail here at the zoo. It's pretty nice. You want to get your little cardio in. There is, you know, if you go one way, it's more of a downhill. You go the opposite way, more of an uphill. A lot of twists and turns around here. It's pretty cool. It's pretty nice. I love it a lot. Who's calling me? Nobody's calling me. The one thing I like to know is along my podcast journey, my third revised podcast journey, is that I would like to know people's stories that did happen, that are true, that are hard to believe. So I got one. Here you go. The one time I was involved in a police chase, true story, and unfortunately, because in the moment I was legitimately like scared, was terrified, I did not record anything. Now, side note, from here on out, I aim to have proof of the things that happened to me last year in 2023. We're in 24. So in 23, I was on my first not overseas, but out of country trip by myself. My first solo trip. My first trip with EF, small plug-in. UA Rogelio 100. Use that code, $100 off. I was on my way to Canada, and I let them book my flight, and they booked it at 5 a.m. I was like, cool, you know what? No worries. It is what it is. I'm gonna go over there and have fun. And where I live now, as a small town, and the next big city near us is Houston, and that's 2 hours away. So I go, and I have a friend that lives in Houston, and he's a police officer. So I'm like, hey man, can I, sleep at your house for a little bit until the time for me to go to the airport is ready for me. You know what I'm saying? And so he's like, yeah man, come on over. So I go over to his house, sleep over at his house, and he's working the night shift. So he calls me up. He's like, hey, you know what? Matter of fact, instead of you waking up super late or being in a rush, how about you come on a ride along with me, and we do the ride along, and then I'll take you to the airport. I was like, sounds like a good idea to me. Hang out with my buddy, get to see what's inside of a cop car. No big deal. The procedure of having a ride along is pretty simple. You take it to the station, do the paperwork, fill out the paperwork. They search your name if you're a convict, if you got anything, anything bad on you, then you can't go. If you're all good, you're good. You can go on a ride along. So obviously, I was good. Went on a ride along. He's showing me everything. He's like, here's this, here's that, here's how we do this, here's how we do that, here's how you check this. I was like, oh, snap, it's a whole bunch of gadgets, like Inspector Gadget inside of that Tahoe. Start asking questions like everybody else does to a police officer. Every time I hear the radio, I immediately shut up, because he has to pay attention to that radio to see what's kind of calls are happening. So every time I talk, I hear the radio, okay, nothing bad, nothing good, whatever. He hears it, I don't know how they hear it. First of all, respect to the cops, you know what I'm saying? Like, your key on hearing is, bro, it's top notch. And your key on navigating, hey, top notch. So he hears this call on the radio and he's like, oh snap. First thing he does is puts his hand across my chest to make sure I'm wearing my seatbelt. And I double check too if I'm wearing my seatbelt. I'm like, yeah, I'm wearing my seatbelt. And he guns it, you know what I'm saying? So we're in our county and there was a high speed chase that started in the county that we were in. And it led to going outside of our county, but we still had to pursue, Along the way of trying to catch this, there was an Audi. Along the way to catch this Audi, mindful, this is like 2:30 in the morning. We find other police officers from different counties of the Houston County area, or in Houston, whatever, in the metropolitan, I don't know. We find it, and then he's driving, a lot fast on the highway, and he's listening to the radio. He's like, hold on, I'm gonna take a shortcut. I don't know how to process this. I don't know how you can drive really, really fast, focus on the road, focus on not hitting the car in front of you who's here? Nobody's here. He's like, hold on, I'm gonna take a shortcut. Gets on an exit, takes a back road. We end up in the same location where the car chase is at. But before we get there, they yell out, or they call out like a crash or something. I don't know what the code for a crash is, but the car crashed into another vehicle. So I'm like, oh, snap. So we get there, we're at the scene, we're at this huge four-way stop sign, or four-way stop. The Audi that was fleeing had T-boned another car. And in that car that was T-boned was an Uber ride. So there was a driver and two passengers. For YouTube purposes, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but one of the passengers was in the car and the other passenger had flew out of the car during that T-bone crash. If you want to find it, cool. Hats off to you. That there was a T-bone, there was a crash, and I was in shock. And this whole time, I'm in the moment, because if I'm telling the story, I was taking my phone out. Now, here's the thing. I didn't want to take my phone out and then me capture something I wasn't supposed to. Now, I get it. They have body cams. They have cameras on there, and then that stuff is released to the public. But I didn't want to be the one be like, oh, snap, I posted something or I shared something that shouldn't have been shared. I was being aware of myself. I was being cautious. I was being careful. Now, it could have been like, yeah, you could have recorded. I don't care. Yeah, I didn't know. It was my first time being in a police chase. It was my first time being inside of a cop car in the front seat. I've never been in the back seat. But my first time being in the front seat of a cop car. And I didn't know what to do. Oh, I was scared. You know what I'm saying? I was scared. We were going fast. Everything was happening really, really quick. Everything was going on. There was around 10 or 12 cop units in that area. But we were out of our district. So they call and they're like, hey, nobody's in our district. Somebody has to go back. So we go back to the district that we're supposed to be in, and we're just chilling there. And I'm like, is that it? He's like, yeah, now we gotta wait for the next call. I'm like, dude, we just witnessed something horrible. And now we gotta wait for the next call. He's like, yeah, man, cop life. So I'm like, hey, hats off to cops for being like that emotionally blocked while you're working, keeping it pro. That's insane. And did I make it to the airport? Here's the actual funny story. I'm like, hey, I don't want to be that guy, but I gotta go to the airport. So we go to the airport, drop off at the airport. All right, dab each other up, bro hug. All right, I'll see you later, cool beans. And I get to the airport with 1 hour to spare. I get there at 4. My flight's at 5. If you've been at the airport, it takes at least like an hour to get to your gate. So I'm like, all right, I gotta gun it. And I thought that I was flying through Air Canada because I was going to Canada. Pay attention to your emails. I was flying United. I was on the wrong side of the airport. And if you've been to an airport, airports are huge. If you've been to the Houston airport, the George Houston airport, that place is huge. So I'm on the wrong side of the airport. I go on the other side of the airport with 30 minutes to spare to go through TSA and then go find my gate. And finding the gate is the hardest part. As soon as I get to United, and I go on the kiosk to get my ticket, the flight's delayed till 9 a.m. 9 a.m. And I was rushing while I got there at 4 a.m. My flight was originally at 5 a.m. So I'm like, this is great. This is awesome. Fantastic. So I call my friend. I'm like, hey, dude, turns out my flight's at 9 a.m. And he's like, hey, dude, I actually was about to go home, but I got called back to the scene. I'm like, that's crazy. Josh, safe. Be safe. And he's like, hey, be safe too in Canada. All right, cool. I get my breakfast, wait for the freaking plane at 9 a.m., even though I had this crazy morning. And then I get to Canada I forgot the place of it, Calgary. I get to Canada, and they're like, how was y'all's flight? How was everything? And I was like, y'all not going to believe what happened to me today at 2 a.m. They're like, what happened? Now, I did have a small bit of proof when I did tell the story in Canada. I had a little bit of a post on my Snapchat story. Now, I didn't save it, unfortunately, but I did have it like that morning, so it was still kind of fresh. And I was like, this is what happened, and here's a proof to show that this actually happened to me this morning. And what I showed was I was in the passenger seat, of course, and we were at that 4-way stop, and I put my phone up just barely above the dash, and I do a small little pan from left to right, and all you see is cop lights everywhere. You can hear the radio, and I'm like, yeah, that's what happened to me today at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. So I'm kind of tired. I'm going to go to sleep, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. And that was the story of how I was involved in the police chase. Crazy, right? Would I do it again? Hell no. Hell no, I would not do that again. It was a cool experience, a very cool experience, but it was one of those one and done type of experiences. So those are the kind of stories that you'll probably be hearing on this podcast. Just stories that did happen that people wouldn't believe, and yeah, stuff like that. So hope you enjoyed my very first introduction episode of whatever I'm going to call this podcast. Have a good day. I hope all is well with you. Okay, that's it. May the Lord be with you.